afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television live in Beirut. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's headlines. Finance Minister Ali Hassan Khalil says the dangerous radioactive components found in industrial and kitchen items seized at the Beirut port and airport threaten the lives of the Lebanese, while Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud calls for a reinforcement of sanctions against food violators. Lebanon braces for Storm Zina as new layers of snow are observed across the mountains, shutting several major roads for a fourth straight day. And attackers kill 2 Saudi Arabian border guards and injure another near the country's border with Iraq in a shooting and suicide assault. Finance Minister Ali Hassan Khalil has announced that dangerous radioactive components found in industrial and kitchen items recently seized at the Beirut port and airport threaten the lives of the Lebanese. During a news conference at the Beirut port, Khalil said this is a poison by itself and a slow process of killing citizens. Khalil vowed to hold the importers accountable and promised Lebanon will no longer be a dump for toxic waste and a landfill containing radioactive material that is harmful to citizens' health. He also warned that such radioactive component lasts for more than 85 years and pointed to the cheap import of some goods from India. Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud has cautioned that the lack of accountability and lax attitudes over the implementation of food security rules undermines the campaign to go after food violators, and lamented that no arrests have been made since the scandal broke 2 months ago. He deplored the absence of follow-up on the application of rules and decisions to curb food corruption, noting that many institutions accused of violating food security enjoyed political cover and protection by parliamentary blocs and ministers. He declared there are 19 cancer cases among employees of Beirut slaughterhouse, rats in the port silos, and pathetic conditions at the airport's warehouse, and no one was apprehended. Although he acknowledged there were limitations to what his ministry could do to avoid trespassing on other ministries' prerogatives, Abu Faoud vowed not to stay idle. He promised to submit a comprehensive report to the Council of Ministers, comprising the names of corrupt officials who must be dismissed, stressing that the main aim of the campaign was to ensure a minimum food safety for the Lebanese. Abu Faoud pointed out that his ministry will take measures to regulate and control the sector, including health certification and licensing. Economy and Trade Minister Alain Hakim has lashed back at Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud, accusing him of seeking media propaganda through his highly publicized campaign against food corruption. Addressing reporters, Hakim said fighting corruption does not start with halabi and kebabji restaurants, but it starts at a higher level, such as tackling the issue of solid waste management, for example. Abu Faoud and Hakim have been locked in a war of words over the former's criticism of the latter over poor storage and hygiene conditions at the grain silos in the Beirut port and for storage and distribution of expired sugar in Tripoli. Accusing Abu Faoud of acting in an arbitrary and personal manner, Hakim said food security is a legal, technical and governmental issue which should be handled by the Ministerial Food Security Committee set up specifically for that purpose, instead of being exposed in the media. He says the inspection visit carried out by Abu Faoud and Agriculture Minister Akram Shayib to the grain silo in Beirut port last week had turned into a circus show and propaganda campaign. A mixture of confusion and fear have struck the Syrian population currently residing in Lebanon following a recent announcement made by General Security over new visa measures to be implemented today. In an unprecedented move, Syrians trying to enter Lebanon have to provide documentation identifying their reason for being in the country, highlighting stricter entry procedures for people who, since Lebanon gained its independence in 1943, had been able to move freely across the border. While the registered refugee population in Lebanon, now 1.1 million, is said to be largely unaffected by these new measures, there are at least 300,000 unregistered refugees who are expected to suffer, as the procedures are aimed specifically at those attempting to enter as refugees. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has voiced concern over the lack of clarity regarding the restrictions. Interior Minister Nuhad al-Mashnouk has defended the new regulations requiring Syrians traveling to Lebanon to obtain visas, saying they will reduce the number of Syrians in the country. In a press conference, Mashnouk said there are 1.5 million Syrians in Lebanon, 1,070,000 of whom are registered refugees. This number is enough, and Lebanon has no ability to receive more refugees, he declared. However, the door is still open for entering Lebanon for justified purposes, he added, giving work, visit, or medical treatment as examples. Social Affairs Minister Rashid Darbas, another advocate of the new decision, says entry visas will be granted on the Lebanese legal crossings. The minister said many Syrians have been practicing professions that are restricted for the Lebanese, but now the new regulation imposes a work permit and a sponsor for every Syrian worker in Lebanon. More stormy weather has added new layers of snow across Lebanon's mountains, shutting several major roads for a fourth straight day ahead of Storm Zina, set to sweep the country on Tuesday. The Traffic Management Center says the Ainata Arz Road, as well as Tanurin La'louk and Kafraya Barouk, were blocked by snow. The Department of Meteorology at Beirut Airport said inconstant weather is expected until this evening, when Lebanon will gradually become affected by Storm Zina. Zina, coming from Greece, will reportedly bring strong winds and heavy rain and snow. Meanwhile, the internal security forces say roads leading to ski resorts in Kfar Debian are passable for jeeps and SUVs equipped with metal chains due to icy roads. Motorists were also advised to add anti-freeze to their radiators to help motors start up easier. And coming up next, Czech archaeologists unearthed the tomb of previously unknown queen in Egypt, believed to have been the wife of Pharaoh Neferefre. More after the break. Welcome back. You're watching the English news on FutureTV. Attackers have killed 2 Saudi Arabian border guards and injured another near the country's border with Iraq in a shooting and suicide assault. This is according to the Saudi Interior Ministry, which says the attackers opened fire on a border patrol near the city of Arad earlier today. When security officers responded, one of the attackers was captured and detonated an explosives belt. The ministry says another attacker was killed by security forces, but did not specify the number of assailants. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says he is discussing plans with Jordan to resubmit a resolution to the United Nations Security Council calling for the establishment of a Palestinian state that failed to win enough votes last week. Palestinian officials hope the UN will be more sympathetic to the resolution, demanding an Israeli withdrawal from occupied territories and independence by 2017. In the UN vote on Tuesday, the Palestinian draft received 8 votes in favor, including France, Russia, and China, and 2 against and 5 abstentions, among them Britain. Australia joined the United States in voting against the measure. But reports say any resubmission would face almost certain failure. The U.S. has veto power as one of the Council's 5 permanent members and has pledged to block Abbas's plan, calling it one-sided and unproductive. And now for some news around the world. In brief, former Tunisian Interior Minister Habib Essid was nominated as the country's prime minister. Parliament Chief Mohamed Nasser, who made the announcement, said the ruling Nida Tunis party came to an agreement with other parties before making the appointment. Essid worked in the government of Tunisian autocrat Zine Labedine Ben Ali, who was an interior minister after the 2011 revolution that ended Ben Ali's one-party rule and forced him into exile. A bomb blast has struck a building used as a base for Houthi rebel fighters in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. Police say 1 person was injured in the attack that happened in the east of the city. The building and neighboring houses were reportedly damaged in the blast. The Houthis, who control large swaths of Yemen, sealed off the area soon afterwards to prevent access to it. Moving on to Asia, Indonesia has ordered the suspension of aviation officials as it investigates the crash of AirAsia Flight 8501, also promising action against any domestic airlines violating their flying permits. The crackdown came as a major search in the Java Sea entered its 9th day, struggling in bad weather to find more bodies for the black box flight data reporters, which are crucial to determining the cause of the disaster. Only 3 more bodies were recovered today, bringing the total found to 37. 2 activists of the opposition Bangladesh Nationalist Party have been killed during clashes between supporters of Bangladesh's opposition and ruling party. The clashes have erupted in several cities as security forces continued their siege of opposition leader Khalida Zia's office, preventing her from leaving. Today marks the first anniversary of last year's controversial poll, and Zia had urged her supporters to take to the streets in a bid to force the government to call a fresh election. Czech archaeologists have unearthed the tomb of a previously unknown queen, believed to have been the wife of Pharaoh Neferefre, who ruled 4,500 years ago. Officials in Egypt say the tomb was discovered in Abu Sir, an old kingdom necropolis southwest of Cairo, where there are several pyramids dedicated to pharaohs of the 5th dynasty, including Neferefre. The antiquities minister said the name of his wife had not been known before the find and identified her as Kentakawes. That would make her Kentakawes III, as 2 previous queens with the same name have already been identified. Her name and rank had been inscribed on the inner walls of the tomb, probably by the builders. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Finance Minister Ali Hassan Khalil says the dangerous radioactive components found in industrial and kitchen items seized at the Beirut port and airport threaten the lives of the Lebanese, while Health Minister Wael Abu Faour calls for a reinforcement of sanctions against food violators. Lebanon braces for Storm Zina as new layers of snow are observed across the mountains, shutting several major roads for a 4th straight day. And attackers kill 2 Saudi Arabian border guards and injure another near the country's border with Iraq in a shooting and suicide assault. Those are your Monday headlines from us here at Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, and I'll see you again tomorrow for more updates. Take care.